Hi, I'm Olivia, and welcome to the channel. This is my first YouTube video, and honestly, I don't know how to start this. This is like the sixth or seventh time I have tried to start this video. And for any new YouTubers out there, if you have any idea how you started your videos and how you got yourself in the right mindset, please let me know because it is weirdly hard to talk to yourself into a camera. So thank you for being here. And thank you for taking your time out to pop over to this video. I'm currently sitting on the floor. I have day two hair right now. My bows are really uneven, but you know, we're forgetting about that today because if I overthink this, it's going to be weird. So we're just going to dive right into it. Like I said, hi, my name is Olivia. I am the owner and the founder of Eclectica Division, and we are based out of Philadelphia and now Portland as well. I created Eclectica Division, which is a music collective based in Philly. That's how we started. I live in Philly full time. I've been here for just about 10 years now. And I have really grown in those 10 years to love the music scene here. I'm a big music head. I have grown up listening to all types of music, all different genres my entire life. My parents were very involved in their music scenes and are music lovers themselves. And I don't know, I just grew up in that environment. So in 2020, just like everybody else, I decided to move forward with my dream of creating a record label. But the way Eclectica Division started was as a music management company. And I got my foot in the door by managing bands in Philadelphia. I had no formal background in the music industry at all. So this was really the only way I could put myself in that position to actually get into the industry. And it's been an amazing, truly whirlwind past few years. And moving into 2024, I was coming off of a stint of booking and promoting, as well as curating different shows in Philly. Now, that is a topic for another time in terms of the health and well being of the music industry in Philly. But going into 2024, I decided I wanted to take up a new creative pursuit, and that's getting on YouTube and sharing more of my thoughts on the music industry, music in general, and I don't know, sort of creating like a book club, but for music. So here is where that will live. If you'd like to follow along, please do. I would love to hear thoughts on new music and new trends, issues in the music industry. I have a lot of things coming, so please feel free to share. And I will do my best to speak on everything that I can. But today, we are going to do something really fun, and we are going to talk about my favorite albums of 2023. I know, so original. However, I don't know, every other publication does this, and I feel like I'm no different in this situation. So today, that is what we're going to be going over. I have a list, a great handful, because music was so good in 2023. We're going to be going through that. Now, before I get into it, I just want to say that am I qualified to talk about these albums and in music in general? Yes. Are you allowed to have a different opinion than me? Yes. But regardless, is this a place of respect for all types of tastes in music? Absolutely. So, anything that I like or don't like, if you don't agree, it is okay. And I respect that. We don't all have to have the same taste. And When we listen to music in general, we take something from it and we take it with us. And there's a reason why. And so I might have some perspective, I might have some critique, but that might not be what resonates for everybody. And that is okay. So, as we get into it, I just want to say thank you again for being here. And I hope you continue to join me through this journey. Okay. First album that was my absolute favorite this year in 2023. Hands down, the album that surprised me the most and came out of nowhere for me is the album Desire, I Want to Turn Into You by none other than Caroline Polachek. So, this album, I just want to give you some context. I had never heard of Caroline Polachek prior to 2023. And for the people out there who love Caroline, I am so sorry. You were right. Okay. This album changed my perspective on music in 2023 in a way that I never thought it could. We were down bad in the beginning of 2023. We were down so bad. Pop music was not doing its thing. And I was having a really hard time finding music I felt excited about. This album changed everything for me. I'm going to talk about some specific aspects of this album in a very short form sense of like, I'm just going to touch on a few things. I'm not going to go in song by song. I'm not going to be going into an in-depth analysis. Later down the line, we will end up releasing a blog with some writers who will be able to go more in depth about these albums. But for now, I'm going to just be talking about some high points. In terms of the album reviews and, moving forward and how I conceptualize albums will be in terms of classifying my Holy Grail tracks as well as my flop tracks. So for me and for this channel, a Holy Grail track is a track that I am taking from the album that I will continue to listen to past the relevance of the album. In years down the line, it is always going to be a song that I go back to or a song that I continue to remember and continue to play, even when the album is years and years old at that point. My flop track is just that. It's a flop track. Now, I want to also say that a flop track doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad song. It's just for me, it did not resonate. And sometimes it really is a bad song. It's inevitable that on an LP or an EP, there is going to be a flop track. We can't have no skips. I really have an issue personally with the idea that albums can be no skips. And I do think that those albums exist, but I think more often than not, there is a flop track on many pop albums today, at least one of them, primarily, in my opinion, because of how the publishing industry conducts itself. And that makes it really difficult for artists to be able to come out with no skip albums. And that will be something that I talk about another day. Back to Desire, I Want to Turn Into You. My Holy Grail track on this album is Blood and Butter. Oh, this song is so good. This song is so good. I never ever thought I would like a song that has the words blood and butter in it, because objectively that's like really disgusting. And you would not go out of your way to listen to a song with that title. The way that this song hits my soul, I can't even properly describe it. As with everything that Caroline Polachek does on Desire, it is experimental. There are aspects of, opera and operatic instrumentation and composition, as well as just an interesting conceptualization of a track. I know Caroline Polachek is somebody who is typically known for thinking outside the box musically. And I really think that is displayed super heavy here on Desire. The songs keep you guessing. There is that dancey aspect that we really love about Caroline Polachek. Blood and Butter by far is my holy grail track. It is a song that I continue to go back to. Every single playlist that I have, I add Blood and Butter. I cannot help it. It is just such a good song, and it's a surprise, right? Because that was not a single that was released for this album. So to discover this song in the middle of the album was a surprise, kept me on my toes. It is just such a great song. On the reverse, our flop track. My flop track for this album is Butterfly Net. The reason Butterfly Net is the flop track for me is that although the lyrics are good, the composition is not particularly attractive to me. I don't really enjoy the slow acoustic nature of Butterfly Net. It almost comes off to me like it is a demo project that was altered slightly for the album. That's not something I particularly find attractive. And on an album such as Desire, where so many songs are so good, Butterfly Net was unfortunately the one that did not hit as hard for me. Caroline Polachek is also 38 years old. What? Modern day Kylie Minogue. I mean, seriously, this woman, I cannot believe the vocal range on this woman. Like this should not happen. This really should not happen, but it does. And she has made it work. That's why I love her. And that's why this album was just such a huge moment for me in 2023. This album, along with the composition and the aspect in which keeps you guessing, it is very impeccably produced. Her primary producer for this album is Danny L. Harrell, who also produced the recent song Houdini by Dua Lipa. Personally, I'm not a favorite of that one, but it's a really great produced album. I am truly predicting with this album that in 15 years, Desire will resurge with the alpha generation and will become almost like a Kate Bush to the alpha generation that we saw in the past, 1 or 2 years with Gen Z and Kate Bush. I think this album was met with a lot of popularity, but I think that in 15 years, the youngest generation will rediscover it and it will mean a lot to them as well. It will become in the popular media once again. That's my prediction. Okay, let's move on to number 2, which is Guts by Olivia Rodrigo. I loved this album. This album was so unexpected because let me just get this out of the way. I liked Sour. Driver's License was a moment in pop culture. You know what I'm saying? Sour was a good album. Guts was like Sour, just more matured, more punk inspired, and I think better produced as well. My holy grail track on Guts is Ballad of a Homeschooled Girl. There are so many hits on this record, but by far, Ballad of a Homeschooled Girl is the one that I keep coming back to. It's the song that I listen to when I'm on the subway in the morning going to work and I need a pick me up because, life gets you down. Ballad of a Homeschooled Girl helps me go into work with like an FU attitude that sometimes I need, right? Something to just like put a little pep in my step, if you know what I'm saying. Ballad of a Homeschooled Girl does that for me. There are other amazing songs on this album that I still love, but by far Ballad of a Homeschooled Girl is what I will continue to go back to. My flop track on this album is going to be Teenage Dream. Here's why. My initial reaction to Teenage Dream was, okay, we get it, you're successful. To me, it's the least relatable song on the album, although I do think that it is a poignant critique on how teenage musicians end up moving into the sphere of popular music and how their worth is put into this story of them being a teenager. And once they leave that, they become irrelevant or different or they've changed. We've seen that time and time again with so many young stars, especially those from Disney, which Olivia Rodrigo is from that sphere. So I do think that's a good critique, especially of child stardom. However, it's not a relatable song. I'm sorry, it's just not. This album was produced by Dan Nigro, who also produced her record Sour, but Dan has also produced for Caroline Polachek, Kylie Minogue, Conan Gray, all these things that we definitely hear on the album. Sorry, I had to adjust. It's freezing cold in Pennsylvania right now, and I'm sniffling like crazy. So thank you for waiting. Okay, my next album, my favorite, one of my favorite albums of 2023, and will be a staple in music, you know, indie music, pop music, forever, is going to be The Record by boygenius. I don't think I really need to go into why boygenius has single-handedly changed the landscape of pop music, but what I will say is my holy grail track, by and large, is Emily, I'm Sorry. Phoebe Bridgers on the song sounds so good. And we know that Phoebe Bridgers sounds great. Every single time she is on something, she sounds great. This song, Angel Baby. Like true, like there are just the way that she sings this song is so impassioned. Her voice sounds so soft and angelic. It's truly a beautiful song. And then in the background, you have Lucy and Julian coming in to complement her in those background vocals. So she is really, I mean, this song is really a staple, and I understand why it was a single when this record was teased. On the reverse, my flop track is Leonard Cohen. It's the shortest track on the album. Doesn't resonate with me. It doesn't have a particular chorus. I don't really like songs that don't have choruses. I know that it's short. I just kind of feel like, okay, whatever about it. Not a big deal. The producer of this album is Catherine Marks, who's also done The Killers, Alanis Morissette, Manchester Orchestra. All of that is heard on this album by and large. Truly a very important album in the sphere of indie pop music. And I truly believe this album will continue to be referenced for decades to come as an iconic and classic album. Okay, yet another fun distraction. My cat is freaking out that I have the door closed right now. So, going so well. Okay. The next album I want to talk about as my favorites for 2023 is going to be Utopia by Travis Scott. I feel like this is one that many people don't have on their lists or was not expecting. I love this album, and I know Travis Scott has gotten a lot of flack from YouTube, music commentary channels like, Todd in the Shadows, about how people don't really know who Travis Scott is. I agree with that, but putting that aside, I want to acknowledge Utopia as an album that feels very new and fresh, felt very authentic. We might not know who Travis Scott is, but I do think that this album pushes the boundaries of what hip hop and rap is. And for that, I respect it. I also admire it too. And I think that that's an area that we can, you know, it can be tough to critique genres of music sometimes because we want to fit music into certain categories. For Utopia, it pushes boundaries and that makes people uncomfortable. And when music makes people uncomfortable, um, it can cause a little bit of contention in the genre itself. All that aside, I do think that this album was very good. Do I think it was a little long? Yeah. I mean, there's like 20 songs on it, but overall, I think it's a very good album, and I think he makes some creative decisions on this album that are super beneficial to the genre as a whole, and are also just very interesting takes on, a more experimental and dark approach to hip hop and rap. My holy grail track on this album is Modern Jam with Tizo Touchdown. This song is so good. It is a banger. We didn't get a lot of bangers this year. Okay? If we got a lot of bangers this year, please let me know and I missed it. Like, we did not get bangers this year, so this song really stood out to me. It is a song I continue to play over and over and over again, especially when I'm, like, going getting ready to go out somewhere. I love this song. I had no idea who Tizo Touchdown was either until this song. On the other side, my flop track is K-pop, obviously. This song isn't good. That's just what it is. This song isn't good, and Travis Scott is on it for like 5 seconds. Also, it's called K-pop, but it's not about K-pop, the music. No, it's a bad song. Okay. There are tons of producers on this album, so I'm not going to go through all of them. That's pretty typical for hip hop and rap albums to have a lot of different producers on the various tracks that are on there. I will talk about Modern Jam specifically because it was produced by Travis Scott himself and Guy Manuel, D. Home Christo, who also has produced for Daft Punk, which is, makes a lot of sense. So for me, Utopia was a good album. And I mean, aside from Modern Jam, I still listen to Fiend. I still listen to Love, and there are great songs on this album. I do think it's a little long. That is a critique I have of many of the new albums that have come out recently, and a topic for another day. Other than that, I think it's a good one, and one of my favorites for the year, absolutely. My next album in 2023 was the Maine's self-titled album, The Maine. Now, a little fun fact about me, The Maine is my favorite band. I have liked them since back in the scene days in like 2007, 2008. I have been to like over 15 The Maine shows. I've seen them every single time that they've come to Philly. I've seen them on so many Warp tours. They are my favorite band. They're probably the one on this list, one of the two on my list that people have probably not heard of or may not know recent songs by them. So I'm here today to tell you. My holy grail track from this album is going to be Leave in 5. I was so upset when I saw the Maine at Franklin Music Hall a couple weeks ago and they did not play this song. I was really heartbroken because this song is just a dancey, disco, fun song. You cannot help but dance. You cannot help but dance for this song. It's a great track. It's so different from what they typically do, and I think that's what makes it so fun. This album as a whole is meant to mark their 16 years that they have been as, together as a band, touring, performing together. And I truly believe that this album does a great service to who they are musically. When we think of bands from the scene era, we typically think that those bands just died off. And if they're still around, they're doing the same stuff that they've always done. Not calling anyone out. The Maine is different. The Maine is different. And I will go into the Maine during a different video because I think the impact that they have had and the way that they have been able to transcend such a niche space like the scene era is something to be admired. I think the way that they've built their fan base is something to be role modeled. And yeah, I just really love them. And Leave in 5 is a great example of why I love them so much. The album as a whole is produced very, very well, including Leave in 5. Now, my flop track for this album is Spiraling. The reason that this is my flop track is because the Maine, at least for the past few albums, has closed with a song that is like over 5 minutes long. And to some people, that might be annoying. But for, diehard the Maine fans like myself, that is something that we look forward to. It has become a staple of their past few albums and something that we look forward to experiencing because it is like a story at the end of the album. Spiraling is the closing track for the self-titled album, and I was just I don't know, I was just really disappointed. Um, it didn't really resonate with me. It was not the type of closing songs that they've had on other albums. So that was my flop track. I'm gonna move I'm trying not to make this video so long. So I'm going to move on to the album by the Jonas Brothers. I know I'm gonna get hate for this. I know I'm gonna get so much hate for this. Okay, but hear me out. I have been a Jonas Brothers fan since 2007. Okay. I have partial tinnitus. I have like onset tinnitus from going to that concert in 2007. Okay. So, like, the Jonas Brothers mean a lot to me. They have been a staple of my, childhood, my teenage years, just like a lot of other girls my age. This album, the album, is an album that got so much hate, but I love this album. I don't know why, okay? I'm just gonna say this album is not special. I'm just gonna acknowledge that right now. This album is not special. However, to me, there are some creative choices on this album that I personally really like, and I can see the influence on. So my holy grail track is going to be Montana Skies. Montana Skies, I feel like, is so influenced by the Bee Gees. It's unreal. And I love the Bee Gees. So for me, it was a song that was really enjoyable. If you're somebody who has not typically liked the Bee Gees, you're going to find this song very insufferable. Montana Skies really pulls that influence of the Bee Gees. You can tell in just the vocal composition that they have in this song. They are pulling from that influence. There is a very upbeat and dancing nature to this song that I personally enjoy. And I got from this album the feeling of wanting to recreate summer. Um, a very easy, breezy, summer, dancey, lighthearted feel to this album. On the flip side, my flop track, Waffle House. This song, okay, the beat is good. The composition of the song is, in my opinion, very strong. I like the beat of it. I like how it builds, it slows, it builds, it slows, it gets faster. I do like that. I think it showcases their vocal range really well. But these lyrics are terrible. They are terrible. First of all, Waffle House shouldn't be referenced in a song. Like, that's a personal opinion of mine, and I'm not trying to like critique ARC, but like at the same time, Waffle House should not be used in a song. That's like using McDonald's or like Hardee's or like Jack in a Box for a song, okay? That's just like number one. Number two, do I believe that the Jonas Brothers were meeting at Waffle House when they had arguments to talk about things? No. No, I don't. I don't believe that. I mean, come on. It's the lyrics are not good. And then there's a point in the song where they can say the word SHIT and they don't even say it. They're in their mid-30s and they can't even say the word SHIT and have one song that is labeled explicit on this album. I can't with that. I cannot with that. Yes, without the lyrics, this song is very dancey and it's very fun. And like I said, I enjoy the composition, but the lyrics are bad. Now, this album as a whole is produced primarily by Jon Bellion. Overall, I like it. My flop track is Waffle House. I have a few other flop tracks on there, but I'm trying not to be mean because I didn't do that for any other album. Waffle House, I think, is the worst. But, even Summer in the Hamptons, let's just say the album by the Jonas Brothers is really strong in the first part and very weak in the second part. That's my opinion. Okay. Moving on to my next favorite album of 2023. We only have like 3 more. My next favorite album of 2023 is Twin Flame by Maude Latour. Maude Latour is an artist that I've been following for only 2-ish years now. Her album 001, I think, changed the fabric of my life, in that I never, ever, ever thought I would hear a pop song with experimental elements that could be fun and slow and not necessarily verge into hyperpop. You know what I'm saying? So when Maude Latour came out with Twin Flame, which is an EP, it is not an LP like 001, but still, it's a very strong EP. My holy grail track is Minerals and Diamonds. It's a hard-hitting song, the beats are great, um, and it is a song, that I use to hype myself up. I really like how she blends these elements of pop with this experimental aspect, and a lot of artists can't do that. Like, they really can't. So, I love this album and I love Minerals and Diamonds. That is my holy grail track. Unfortunately, my flop track is the title track, which is Twin Flame, because that aged poorly. This album was produced by Brandon Shoop, Daisy, and Mel V, as well as Mike Adebato. And so I definitely wanted to shout them out because I know Maude Latour is based in New York City. I know she is probably the smallest artist out of everybody on here. So I definitely wanted to shout out her team that produced this album, and just plug Twin Flame because it's a great album, despite the name. The next album that was my favorite of 2023, and personally for me, ended the year off on such a strong note. I mean, this song really brought together the entire year of pop music into one album and really left us moving towards this new era of pop music. And that album is Something to Give Each Other by Troye Sivan. My love for Troye Sivan is out of this world. Like, I love this man. He is, I heard him in circles. I knew that he was on The Idol in a supporting role. I did not realize that he made music. So when I saw the album cover for Something to Give Each Other, I was like, that is a great album cover, first of all. Okay. Second of all, when I heard Rush, my jaw dropped. My jaw dropped to the floor. I had never heard a song like that. A pop song like that. Now, what is so good about Rush, even though it's not my holy grail track, what's so good about Rush is that it is very reminiscent to music that is typically played in gay clubs, but it is on the pop charts. That's wild. That is wild to me. And the way that the song goes in and out with that pulsating sort of sound, it's very unique. And just a really great track. But again, not my holy grail track. My holy grail track is going to be Got Me Started. I play this song every day. This song makes me feel free, and I want to be Troye Sivan dancing in the music video, and I want to be dancing that dance every single day to get me up in the morning. I love this song. Of course, it samples Shooting Stars. And to my knowledge, that was the first time that Shooting Stars had been allowed to be sampled in a song. So that is my holy grail track. I play it every single day. I will continue to. My flop track is going to be Silly. It's a one-noted track. It's fine. You have that club vibe still, but it's not really saying anything. Whereas I feel like Rush was saying something. I feel like Silly is the more amateur, immature version of Rush. It's fine. I don't think it's necessarily a strong song, but it's fine. But it is a song that I skip when I listen to this album. You get that club vibe that you get from Rush, and What's the Time Where You Are. But then you also get these more experimental parts like One of Your Girls and Got Me Started, some of those more single tracks that came out. And that's what makes this album so great. Absolutely one of my top albums. I mean, this list is in no order, but if I had to put it in order, this would be in my top 3, absolutely. Last but not least is going to be Revamped by Demi Lovato. Now, I feel like if I mentioned the Jonas Brothers, you were probably thinking, "Oh, she's probably gonna mention Demi Lovato too." I did. Revamped by Demi Lovato was an album that I freaked the F out over. Demi Lovato, just like the Jonas Brothers, was a core memory for me growing up. La La Land, I mean, I know every word to La La Land. I've known it for 15 years. I mean, that does not go away. That is a song that has been there for me through my teenage years and my awkward years, and I love that song. My holy grail track for Revamped was Cool for the Summer rock version. Now, Cool for the Summer not only is such a great, queer song, but it also displays Demi's vocal performance on the original very well. The rock version is insane. The notes she hits in that song, I I don't know how that's physically possible. I mean, I genuinely don't know how that's physically possible to hit a note in more of that mixed headspace range, uh, that high. Um, it just hits so much harder than the original. You can really tell that she put a lot more of that rock influence in, like she promised that she would, and it is just such a good song still, and along with the vocal range, I mean, she's still adding those elements of the guitar and the drums that weren't really there in the original Cool for the Summer. Obviously, because Cool for the Summer was supposed to be more of a pop song. Overall, this song just hits so hard. I still play it. I will continue to still have it on my playlist. I mean, this song is just so good. For me, though, the flop track was Confident. To be honest with you, I didn't like Confident as an original either. I never really gravitated towards that song. And the reason why is because Confident reminds me of a time when, like, you saw a script font of Girl Boss on, like, cups and T-shirts and things like that. I mean, Confident came out in 2015, so I was a sophomore in college at the time, and I remember that time a little too well, okay? Statement necklaces and, uh, peplum, blouses and just a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot to think about right now. Confident came out during that time, and it is very evident that it did. The lyrics are very, the lyrics are very odd in terms of we're, like, trying to be feminists, you know what I'm saying? And to me, sure, it has that message for some, but I also know that I think now this song would be made a little bit differently. So for me, I didn't really like the original, and to be honest, the rock version is meh for me as well. Revamped is produced by Oak Felder, who's done Nicki Minaj, Kalani, Alicia Cara, Ariana Grande, and also produced Demi's 2017 album, Tell Me You Love Me. Overall, I love this album so much. It also features my favorite band, the Maine, on there. And it is just such a good album. And if you're somebody who's looking for that nostalgic Demi Lovato vibe that is just a little bit more mature and a little bit more on the heavier side, you're really going to love this album. Overall, that is my list, people. It's a long one. I know. I probably should have kept it to like 5, but I couldn't. I really couldn't. There was just so much good music last year, and I really appreciate you joining me. Tell me in the comments, what do you agree with? What do you disagree with? Um, give me your, top albums this year. And if there are albums that I haven't listened to, I will listen to them from your lists. Overall, though, I'll be back. Thank you for joining me. And stay safe, stay well. Talk to you soon.